Peace, y'all. Yeah, gonna do a new thing here. Just gonna read this article for those who have a hard time reading or finding the time to read. Islam and Me, Pluralism and Faith Amidst More War. Subtitle, I was going to comment on the new war between Pakistan and India, but I would rather talk about peace, love, and unity and my religious journey. Peace to you who are reading, and peace to those who try to do good in this life. It's been almost a year since I've written here, and I'm moved to pick up the digital pen again. I will start by saying a few words about the war because it's on my mind. But then I want to talk about my religious worldview and how it shapes my understanding, as well as my understanding of it, about misconceptions I once held about Islam, misconceptions that I see repeated by people who call themselves Muslims on the internet. I believe in unity, acceptance, and understanding, love above all. I hope you find something worth reading in this. Peace. There are just wars waged by those struggling against their oppressors, and these wars always begin with the initial act of unjust war by the oppressor, by the colonizer. The one side of such a war is an unjust cause, and it transforms into war when the colonized subject raises their weapon against the oppressor. The colonized subjects wage a struggle for justice in the face of a cruel injustice. This is the case in colonized Palestine. The case of India and Pakistan is not such a case. This war is the case of elites of both countries trying to prove to their own subjects that the other country has committed an unjust attack, and therefore we have to take revenge, that we have no choice but to respond equally or in greater force to their provocation. There is no strategic objective from either side, just revenge and shows of force. They want to distract their populations from economic and political pressures and the role of elites in creating these conditions by creating a common enemy to hate and blame. I personally see no way people leading such blind causes will back down and de-escalate, as each attack will further justify more attacks in greater size and impact. There is no point in my further analysis, as we cannot possibly stop this war from continuing from the outside. All there is left to do is to pray for the victims, who will inevitably be poor and innocent people, and try to do good and create a better world wherever we may be, and better conditions in our hearts for love and kindness to grow. Let's not take revenge when we feel injustice has been done. Instead, let us be understanding and forgiving. Let us not lash out in anger. Let us instead feel our emotions, find calm, and seek unity from dialogue and mutual understanding. If we cannot find understanding, let us walk away from conflict. But if we see injustice, let us voice that we see injustice and try to find peaceful resolution. Okay, enough of that. I want to talk about Islam now. Some of you may know, and perhaps many of you don't know, that around a year and a half ago, December 2023, I accepted Islam and began practicing and learning this faith. The two go hand in hand. The first thing I want to say about this is that in the time of my practicing Islam, I have learned much about myself, cried many tears that had been longing to be shed, still do, become softer in the heart, calmer in the mind and body, and more humble in my disposition towards the universe. It has also made me freer in my artistic and otherwise expressions, as you see here, more curious and more open-minded. I'm not here to convert anyone, just to share my perspective and invite you to see it. There are many things I will share in subsequent posts. I want to do this more often. The question of pluralism. This is the actual topic of Islam that I want to talk about. So the question of pluralism, what does Islam say about non-Muslims and other religions? Yeah. When I first started reading the Quran, I found this book to be very forceful, direct, even extreme. It speaks of believers and non-believers, of the rewards and good attributes of the believers and the woeful outcomes and behaviors of the non-believers. And I thought, well, I don't like this idea that some people are good and some are bad, and that only the Muslims are good, the Muslims. And who is a Muslim and who isn't a Muslim anyways? Who is a believer and who is not a believer, And what about those people who say they are Muslims but continue doing cheating and lying and going about their faith with a lack of curiosity or sincerity? I thought there must be something deeper to the Quran that I don't understand, because I know from direct experience that the creator of the universe, the author of the Quran, Allah, God, El Gran Espiritu, is the most kind, the most merciful, the most accepting, and the most understanding. These are just questions I had, because I had a direct experience with the Quran, and some things didn't make sense, which means I needed to learn more. Yes, there's much that I did not know. We will begin with believers and non-believers. Who is a believer, who is not a believer? I recently watched a clip on YouTube where Lale Bakhtiar, translator of many Persian texts on Islam to English, spoke on this question. She said, the word kafir, that word which is usually translated as non-believer, actually carries the meaning of one who is ungrateful. And what else could it possibly mean? In Surah Al-Asr, Allah tells us, by time, humanity is in a grave crisis, except for those who have faith, those who do good works, those who encourage each other towards truth, and those who encourage each other to be steadfast or patient. In the text, I did not include the Arabic version, but I will recite it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa allazina amanu wa amilus salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. In English again. By time. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Humanity is in a grave crisis. Illa allazina amanu. Except for those who have faith. وَتَوَاصَى إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and those who do good works, عَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, وَتَوَاصَى بِالْحَقِّ, those who encourage each other towards truth, وَتَوَاصَى بِالصَّبْرِ, those who encourage each other to be steadfast, towards patience. For me, this verse is very special for many reasons, one of which is that it is short and easy to remember. But otherwise, for me, a Muslim is not simply one who attends all 5 prayers, fasts in Ramadan, does Hajj, accepts Allah by the name of Allah, accepts the Prophet, gives zakat, and so on. For me, a Muslim is one who tries to do good work, tries to choose love over hate, tries to make themselves a better person for the sake of unselfishness, and who tries to find and encourage each other towards truth and patience. So for me, just commenting, Islam is not simply these outward acts. It is these. I think these acts are very important, but there needs to be this inner, searching, actually trying to find truth, trying to be an honest person, and trying to do good sincerely. And so Allah has said in a few places somewhere in the Quran that the Almighty has sent a messenger for every nation, and that some of these messengers are mentioned in the Quran and some are not. And what does this mean? I mean, this is a proof of the validity of various faiths. That other faiths are also valid. Other ways of devotion, of trying to do these good things is valid, actually. And that perhaps these have come from messengers that Allah has sent to different nations, right? The word Islam means submission to God. And God has many names and attributes. The unseen, the creator of all things, the source, the originator, the most kind, the most merciful. Simply put, God is that of the universe, which is the source of all things, and the most kind and lovingness in the universe. And Islam is submission to that. For me, Surah Al-Asr says that all traditions are goodness, as long as they observe what is mentioned in Surah Al-Asr, observe what is actually mentioned in the Quran. If you are observant of that, then, and if your tradition is observant of that which is mentioned in the Quran, that it is grounded in faith in that goodness of the universe that some call Allah, grounded in doing good, in truth, trying to find truth, and in steadfastness in the face of adversity. That is, when you face adversity, that you stay faithful to the goodness. That is Islam, right? And what is faith anyways, right? Going back to the question of believers and non-believers, if a non-believer, a kafir, is one who is ungrateful, one who is ungrateful, then a believer is that person who is grateful, right? And what is gratitude, right? This is not the topic of my writing here, but I just want to comment on this, that gratitude is not just to think, wow, I'm grateful, right? It's not something in your head. I used to think that a little bit as well, that you have to say it. You have to say thank you. You have to give thanks, right? Like, you have to feel that and like reflect on that. Wow, like, wow, I have all of this, and this is gratitude, right? And to see and like feel that, not just to say I am grateful, it is to be grateful, and for everyone that is expressed differently, I think. So Allah tells us some of the attributes of the Quran, of what is a person who is grateful. And in the Quran, off the top of my head, that I had written here, is that some of these are that they pray, have faith in the unseen, give charity, and do good works, right? So charity and good works, these are basics of humanity. Help someone who's in need, give some charity of what you have been given. But what is prayer, right? And why does the creator of all things care if we pray? Why have we been commanded to pray, right? Why does God need us to pray or want us to pray, right? God doesn't need us to pray, but wants us to pray. He even commands us to pray. So prayer consists of a few elements that I see, right? And there's more that I don't see. The most fundamental that I recently learned, reading a speech by Ali Shariati, may Allah be pleased with him, is that prayer is when we stop what we are doing in our day, in our day-to-day affairs, to pause, be mindful, right? Pause, be mindful and aware of our Creator, to commune with the Almighty, the Grand Spirit, the goodness that flows in the universe. Intentionally to pause, stop what you're doing, and to give this time to this, to that which puts love in our hearts, and show gratitude, actually. It is to pause and give thanks, and to ask for guidance, right? So prayer fundamentally consists of, we pause, we give gratitude, and we ask for guidance to become better, guidance in the problems that we are having, and guidance so that we can engage with our problems in a way that is in alignment with the goodness. So the way we do this in Islam is we recite Surah Al-Fatiha at the beginning of each prayer. Each rakat, each cycle of prayer, we say in English. Maybe some of you already know the Arabic. All praises for Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, the Lord of all things, the Master of the Day of Judgment. You alone we serve, and you alone we ask for help. Guide me on the straight path, the path of those who have knowledge and act on that knowledge, not the path of those who have knowledge but do not act on it, nor the path of those who act but with ignorance. This is one translation of the Surah Al-Fatiha, one that I really align with. In Surah Al-Fatiha in Arabic, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabb al-Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Guide me on the straight path. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, the path of those who have knowledge and act on that knowledge in goodness. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Not the path of those who have knowledge but do not act on it, or who do not use it for goodness, nor the path of those who act but with ignorance. So that is prayer, right? We pause, we give gratitude, we ask for help. We commune with the Spirit by pausing 5 times a day, showing gratitude, asking for guidance, asking for blessings for the people that we love. We call this making dua. Other things that we are called to do is give charity, be kind, reflect, give more gratitude, love each other and ourselves. And so these aspects of life that Islam is calling us to, I think across different traditions, this is called devotion generally. And there are many devotional traditions. There are many traditions of devotion and many kinds of acts of devotion. I first learned about devotion when I was in Chile attending a healing ceremony with Mapuche people. It's an indigenous nation in Chile. And so what we did in that healing ceremony is we consumed a psychedelic cactus, sang songs, gave prayers, reflected, shared, and healed. Afterwards, bonds were made, seeds of love were sown. One woman actually shared that she wanted to learn about God on the trip, and that through the trip she experienced God. And so generally, is this what people would call Islam? No, probably not, right? But for me, this is actually some of the goodness of the universe, and God has revealed many paths, many ways of healing to people, right? Whether that's, some people meditate, some people, just devote their lives to service, right? Some people create art, some people pray, right? Some people pray in different ways. And so these are all devotional acts. And for me, Islam is inclusive of all of this, actually. And that people who are doing this are not the kafirs, like people who are trying to do good, trying to do some decency and show gratitude, and like trying to sincerely be decent people and trying to heal the trauma inside themselves as well. This is all part of Islam, actually. And these are all people that I see as believers, People who claim to follow Islam also tend to do sin, right? People do sin all the time. And so why is the sin of the people who call themselves Muslim better or more forgivable than the sin of those who don't call themselves Muslim, right? This is my view, my point of view. So then what, right? Like, why say all of this, and what's the point? Like, basically, you can do whatever you want, right? And no, I don't think so, right? Like, this is the point of me to saying this. It's not, just do whatever you want, and like, it doesn't matter. That's not my point in saying this. Like, for me, sometimes I get frustrated. I'm tired, exhausted, and so busy from work and life that I have no time, energy, or motivation to pray. And the internet tells me, I would like look up. I'd be like, what if I'm too tired to pray? And the internet is, in Vietnamese, we say, so yo ying, so graceless. It tells me, you have to pray because God said so. And then I tell God, I'm tired. I'm sorry. I'm so tired. And I'm so busy and I just want to rest. And God says to me, is like my relationship to God. And God says, yeah, rest. I actually don't need you to pray, especially when you're so tired. It's better for you if you pray when you're rested and your heart actually desires it. And what makes me upset is that nowhere on the internet have I found people giving this point of view. And so that's why I'm here giving this point of view. And so at the end of a song by Navy Blue, there's this recording of a pastor, and he talks about some things about life. And he's a Christian pastor, I think, right? And he says like something like that. He says like, so all of you are here, and that's good, or you're here, and hold on, let me recall. And he says, I'm just this like wandering mischief maker, and trying to find my way through this universe. And you're here too, you know. It means you're alive. You've made it, and that's good, you know. And so we're gonna do a little prayer. That's how we do things, you know? Not because we're in a church, but also because we're in a church. And then he says, you know, everyone's way is all right with me as long as it's about making the world a better place. And you know, to me, like, what I guess a little bit speaking to Muslims and maybe people who have misconceptions of Islam, like, you know, I think actually God just wants us to try to do good in this world and try to not be so selfish, you know, and try to not be so attached to this world, and be sincere. And yeah, so anyways, that's all I wanted to share with you. And you know, give me your thoughts, let's chat. Thank you for listening. 20 minutes. I didn't think this essay would be 20 minutes to read, but here we are. Yeah, anyways, peace, and I hope you enjoy.